Good morning, everyone. Well, it is morning and it's early. You can see there's still a little bit of fog out over the water and that the water is still up. It's been raining pretty much every day for a little while at least. Maybe not all day like that first day I tried to record, but it's still. The rain doesn't bother me. I'm dry. Just I can't get out of the tent. I get stir crazy in here. It's easy to bounce off the walls in a tent. All right. So for today, and somebody mentioned having a battery backup or a UPS. I use those in my office, but out here, there tend to be not climate friendly, so I use a Jackery to power things, but it's only a 300, and it will power my refrigerator for 3 days with no help. The power typically goes out for a few hours at most. Maybe it just glitches. So the only way to do this properly would be to have the big one that they've got, which the cheap one runs 1,000 and the other one runs 2,200. So the problem is the cost on those. It's too much, and the really big one comes in a cart. You have to have help moving it around. It's heavy. You think Teslas are light? They're heavy with those battery packs. All right. So, is Satan bothering you? If you say no, I'd be concerned. He doesn't like God, he doesn't like Jesus, and he doesn't like his creations. Doesn't like us. So if he's not bothering you, maybe you're staying too close to the fence. Pick a side. Jesus doesn't like people who sit on fences. It's in one of the letters. So you have to basically be prepared. Now, if you get away from the fence and get closer to God, Satan's on the other side. He will climb over the fence and come after you. But if you're prepared, it doesn't matter. God's far more powerful than Satan would ever imagine being. Satan never says he wants to be more powerful than God. He just wants to be God, equal to him as far as power and authority. But physically, he can't possibly beat him. Okay. So as I'm recording this, I know that Jesus is with me now, right now. Now, I can't see him. He's here in spirit. And the Spirit of God is omnipresent. Omni being another one of those Latin words that you won't find in the English Bible, along with rapture. He's omnipresent. Satan is not. Satan has no control over the timeline. God created it and manages it and knows every inch of it. Satan can be ready to pounce. We do know that he prowls around, and I'll give you that verse here in a bit. But since he's not omnipresent, he has to have help. Satan is not omni-anything. He's similar to us in what he sees and knows, but he lives in heaven until he gets thrown out in Revelation 12. He could choose to live down here, but he doesn't. He lives in heaven. That ought to tell you what heaven's going to be like. that even Satan doesn't want to live down here permanently. Satan is probably the smartest being. He is the god of this world. So you don't want to go up against him. He tempted Satan, and we'll get to that. He tempted Jesus, and we'll get to that. But he lost because Jesus knows the Bible better than he does. Now, Satan may have already known the answers, was hoping to test Jesus at a weak point. I don't know how you'd be after 40 days of fasting, but I don't want to even think about that. I have a hard time fasting one day because my body doesn't like to not have food in it. It's the way my gut works. I have a hard time when I fast. So I break my fast all the time, and not just for breakfast. That's what that term means, break fast. Now, Satan has to use demons to spy for him, and he's got a lot. And we see in movies like Lord of the Rings, which has a religious undertone to it. The Eye of Sauron sits up on a high pillar and looks out over the area that he controls, and he can see, but he can't see behind things. You notice that? Can't see through things or behind things, so they could hide behind the rocks and sneak around. But he also uses birds. He can use anything that he can get a demon mind into. They went into swine, remember? He said, don't cast us out unless you cast us into that herd of swine. So they can take over animals. And you remember when Jesus or his disciples who were going out in Acts that had the power of the Spirit, the demons would see them coming and say, what do you want with us today? It's one of the reasons we have to get out of here, because we'd recognize the Antichrist. And you say, but we don't recognize him now. He's not the Antichrist yet. He's the seventh king. Until he dies, he won't come back as the Antichrist with the demon in him. So God can't coexist with the devil, and the devil can't coexist with God. So the idea that Satan can get into your head and mess with it, no, can't do that. I need some product in my hair. They can't coexist. And we'll see again a verse for that. But Satan does command a lot down here. This is his world that Adam and Eve put him in charge of. He is the ruler of demons. You can find that in Matthew 12:2. Now, God is far above everything. So even the demons have to stay within the rules. But their job is to trip you up, to test you, and potentially to judge you if you get away from God's plan for you. Now, Satan prowls around, like I said, because he isn't everywhere. But he's going around looking. When you drive and you speed, if you go 1 mile an hour, technically you're breaking the law. They don't enforce it most of the time because it's not worth their time to stop and charge you for $5 or whatever the cost is for going 1 mile an hour over. But they lie in wait for you, the cops do. I'm not associating them with Satan in any way. We need cops to help keep us civil. But the act of lying in wait is similar. And you're looking around for them. If you're driving, you're looking for places where they might hide behind bushes and trees, and just over the rise where you can't quite see them, and their radar can get you just like that. You're looking. Are you looking for Satan the same way? Because he's looking to trap you too. You won't get a ticket. Be worse. Because the cops see you're not omnipresent. You know, some of that's changing, where they can be omnipresent. That's because they got cameras. You don't, you know, Satan can use those cameras too. 1 Peter 5:8, be sober-minded and alert. If you're driving, you want to be that way. If you're walking through this world trying to avoid Satan's traps, that way. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Not a pleasant death. I mean, before they came up with crucifixion, or along with it, they came up with just feeding people to the lions. It's a sport. The Colosseum has witnessed many deaths. Deaths between knights fighting each other, warriors fighting each other, and animals fighting with people, killing them. Only God can save you, like he did Daniel. Now, Satan means literally against or adversary, enemy or opponent, however you want to look at it. His true name is Lucifer, and that's kind of a Greek version. I forget the Hebrew name. I should remember it, but he's got so many different names, it's hard to keep track of them. He will try to set you up. Stay with God, and he can't get to you. Get behind me, Satan. He has to obey that, because the Spirit of God gives you that authority. Only if you're using it. Don't quench the Spirit in these days. It won't be nice. So, like I said, even Jesus was tempted in Matthew 4:3. The tempter came, another name for Satan, came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. Now, what I find most interesting out of that, besides Satan talking to Jesus, and they talk, I'm sure, all the time because they're in heaven, is that it is possible to turn stones into bread. Don't try eating them until they're changed. Knock your teeth out. But I thought that was interesting. And like I said, they can't coexist. So when Jesus is healing, they said, well, he was healing by the power of the devil, essentially. Matthew 12:24. But when the Pharisees heard this, they said, only by Beelzebub, the prince of demons, does this man drive out demons. Well, Jesus responded back to them, no, you're looking at it wrong. I have the Spirit of God. He can't coexist. And we have the Spirit of God as Christians. He can't coexist. He can influence people around you that are not Christians. They can come up and give you advice that's opposite of what God wants you to do. Test everything. People meaning well could give you wrong advice. They don't have to be mean and evil, although that can happen too. But again, there's a limit to what they can do. And 2 Corinthians 4:4, the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so they cannot see the light of the gospel or of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. Seen me, you've seen the Father, Jesus said. And the little g for that, the God of this age, not big G. So he's a ruler, but not a God, really. 1 John 5:18, we know that anyone born of God does not keep on sinning. That doesn't mean you're perfect, but you're trying to improve day by day. Morning! Ranger going by. Say hello. You know, it's like the saying, please be patient, God isn't finished with me yet. We're trying, but we're not going to be perfect. We can't be until we're out of here. So that right there is the primary reason for me wanting to be out of here. But until we have saved the last soul, that would be greedy on my part, and so not my will, but God's will. You know that anyone born of God does not keep on sinning. The one who was born of God protects him. The one who was born of God. So it's Jesus. And the evil one cannot touch him. So he can't touch you, but he can put traps out there. If you ever play golf, you'll find that there's places you don't want to hit your golf ball. If you go where you're supposed to, it's a fair way to where the green is. And finally, just to kind of wrap Satan up, I don't like to give him any more attention than need be. You know, in the garden, he was a serpent. I don't like snakes, but I'm not extremely frightened by a snake. But in Revelation, he's a great red dragon. That seems to be a little bit more intimidating. Revelation 12:7. And then a war broke out in heaven. We have wars down here. Can you imagine up there? What do they fight with? How do they fight? I don't know. I'm curious, but I don't know that I want to be too close. Michael and his angels. Michael is the strong arm, the super angel of God. Satan's the super angel of the devil, of the evil side. But Michael is the good side. And I imagine that they're probably fairly close in power. Michael hasn't taken them on through the entire history of what we've been studying. God hasn't wanted him to. But I'm sure that he was a little bit, I don't want to say afraid to attack Satan, but hesitant to make sure that everything is right. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. Again, I would love to know how that happens. Nobody in a movie has done this yet, right? Are they throwing fireballs back and forth? Are they flapping their wings? I don't know how they fight. Interesting to know. And the great dragon was hurled down. Hurled down. One of the comedians goes, I was thrown out of a bar recently. Now, I don't mean that they escorted me out and said, thank you for being a patron here, but we'd like you to leave. No. They literally threw him out of the bar. Well, that's not a good story, but it points out the fact that being thrown out of something is a little bit more serious than being escorted out. He was hurled down. Again, I'd love to see that. And that ancient serpent called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world, he was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. This will not be a nice place to be once that happens. It's bad enough having him come back and forth, but having him down here with all of his evil ones, not going to be a nice place at all. But this happens right after the Revelation 12 sign. Yeah. We don't know the time between all these events. In Revelation 12, like other parts of Revelation, is a self-contained story. A vignette, if it paints a picture in your head. It's fits somewhere in the end times, but where? The things within the story happen sequentially. If you're in the seals happen one right after the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But when do they happen? When does the first one happen? When is the second? When is the third? We don't know the timing. They could have the first 6 happen within a day, and the 7th one is 2 or 3 years out, or it could be scattered. We don't know. We try to figure this out, but it's hard to know the timing because we're not supposed to know. One, we're not going to be here. And it's a case where the events that are happening are more important than when. If you're ready, it doesn't matter when something happens. I'm driving along all the time and I see a cop off to the side with his radar out, and I'm not speeding, so I don't care. It doesn't bother me. If you're ready for the devil, it doesn't matter. So be ready. That's all I have for this. Like I said, I don't like to give him any more attention than he deserves. And he doesn't even deserve a video, but we need to know. It's in the Bible, so we need to know it. And there are more verses about what he's done and what he's going to do. Again, be ready for him. You need to be ready for the Lord, but you need to be ready for Satan while you're down here. Be protected. What do you think we have armor of God for? The armor is not to protect us against the average person necessarily. But if they've got a demon in them, you need armor. We don't know what a demon is. A demon basically is a spirit that can inhabit somebody or something. I don't know, can demons live in cockroaches? I don't know. Be a good place for them. But you turn the light on and they scurry away, don't they? So it could be. You have a demon-controlled cockroach like in the movie The Fifth Element, where the guy's controlling it and it's got his little joystick and he's making the thing move across the table. And the president of the Federation takes his shoe out and smashes it. I love movie references, especially when they tie into the real world. We lost a very funny comedian recently, Bob Newhart. He's one of the actors, comedians that I wish I had met. I never have met him. I'm into Star Trek, and I've seen the Star Trek people. And they had him as a guest on The Big Bang Theory a few times. Mr. Proton. He was also on was it The Librarians? Yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to do a quick plug for a friend of mine, Dean Devlin, produces a number of TV shows. And they're pretty good shows. He produced Stargate, the movie, the original movie, Independence Day, the movie, the Librarian series of movies. He also produced a TV show called Leverage, where my friends are coming back. And that was basically a modern day A-Team where the good guys beat the bad guys at their own game. And he runs a good production company. I don't like Hollywood in general, but he has a good production company. He also has a company called Electric Entertainment. And if you find them, Electric Entertainment, they have an app and you can watch their shows on it. I'm not getting paid for this. This is just because I like what he does, and we need to find places where we can watch stuff. So it's Electric Entertainment. I'll see if I can drop the link in. But he's got a show out called The Ark, and it just started. Second season, I think. Check it out. It's interesting. Fun to watch some of these shows. And they do have a Leverage reboot that they're filming. I think they've wrapped on that. I'd really love to be on the show, but I'm friends, and I'm afraid that if I get there, I might not do as good a job as I should as an actor, and I wouldn't want to put anybody out by that, so we'll just stay friends. I'll work on other stuff, but I won't work on his, because I don't know that I could live up to his standard. But anyhow, check out Electric Entertainment. Dean Devlin is the executive producer on these. He moved out of Hollywood long before Hollywood came here to Georgia. He went up to Portland. But now they're so crazy that they film in Louisiana now. NOLA is New Orleans. I forget what the full acronym means, but that's the film. Film industry was in New Orleans before it came to Georgia and North Carolina. And both of them had problems with their entertainment laws. In Louisiana, they took them away, so the companies folded up and came here. But when they put them back, some of them went back. And it's not that far away. It's probably an 8-hour drive for me to get down there. I wouldn't mind going down there and visit. They're going to have I guess it's a convention this fall sometime. I'm going to see if I can go down there and visit them, because I know them. I know some of the actors in there. I've worked with Christian Kane before. He's a really nice guy. Singer that became an actor. Happened before, but it works well for him. So anyhow, there's still some wholesome shows out there. Just got to look for them. You won't find them from Disney anymore. Mr. Disney himself, who was a taskmaster, he wasn't perfect. He ruled with an iron fist, if you will, like Jesus is coming back. So a lot of people didn't like him for that, but he set the rules. He doesn't like, I'm sure, wherever he's at. I don't know that he's a Christian, but he seems like he should be. You won't like what they've done to his company. And Lucas doesn't like what they've done with Star Wars. But he sold the company, and he said he wouldn't. What people do for money. So be careful out there. Money rules this world, and power. Don't get in the way, because they'll run you right over. Be safe. Keep your armor on. If you're not sure what it is, go back and look at Ephesians 6. You put your armor on. It's defensive and offensive. You've got a sword too. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.